welcome to Americans Coast to Coast and all the ships at sea. Here we are again, another Friday. Today is, what is today? The 23rd. Oh, Memorial
23rd.
Day weekend. Yeah, back again with Art and Kevin,
And
fresh off our Android experience, which we're going to talk all about today. Today's Friday is one Friday a month we talk about robots, androids, humanoids, automation, and all sorts of cool stuff like that. Before we jump into that, though, anything new in the industry, Art, that you can think of? Because I can't.
well, I was off on
That's
I
right.
was still on vacation on Monday. Um
I can't.
well, Wednesday we had our event, and I'm just trying to go through some of my notes. Scrolling through it right now. Um
It's still like in breaking news that that OpenAI bought that company,
Well,
Johnny Ive's company.
yeah. There's a lot of news on the AI front. I
Mhm.
mean, this is
so
probably one of the
there's
biggest weeks
virtually no
ever.
news on the copier front.
Okay. I mean, Google and Microsoft both had their their conventions of some sort, but Google just dropped like a dozen, and I could be wrong, different things. And today's Friday, so it's the last day. But the Google stuff is just driving Hollywood bananas because I don't know if you guys have seen any of the videos that were produced by this thing called VO, which I think is like 250 a month or something, but it is prompt to movie. That's all it is. And the language is fine, it's consistent, the lips match the uh the scripting, everything. And right now they're like 2, 3, 7 minute long video clips, but it's not long until it's going to be 30, 3 hours, 2 hours. But the quality is exceptional. I don't know if you guys saw any of them. They're all over the internet. 7 minute, 3 minute things.
No, what's the
There's
name of
one
it?
VO VEO. Again, it's it's impacting Hollywood. All the actors, and when I say actors, commercial actors, right? That are on your commercials. You don't need them anymore. You don't need them anymore. Wait till you see it. And it's the worst it's ever going to be. The hardest thing that they've been talking about in these videos is consistency, right? Because you prompt it, it creates it, and then when you go to back to edit it, it creates a whole new version. So it's like it doesn't take like a take two. Okay, in this case, I want you to do that. Now it does,
Wow.
and
And
you can
that's
tell it to do it in Pakistani, whatever language, and it all coordinates the mouth, the lip movements, and everything. And if you think of everything, and the samples I saw are like, there's one where a bunch of army guys are going out a SWAT club or whatever it is. The the environment is dynamic, right? It's like watching a real movie. So you've got everything from lighting, shadows, um, details, movement, front view, back view, articulation, music, all in one a prompt away. So that's the big role. But they've got all sorts of Google just hit it hard with everything. They want to integrate their whole uh, package set with AI, right? So that no matter where you're at, although it's still in beginning stages in terms of user friendliness, but technically it's there that all your email, all your Google Docs, all your sheets, pictures, everything all integrate with the AI, your AI, so that when you ask for something, it checks everything and then wherever else it wants to go, to the internet or whatever. So it's nuts if you think
and
about it.
this is Google DeepMind, right?
DeepMind is just one of them, right? There's Gemini, there's DeepMind, there's VO, there, like I
Yeah, I'm
said,
looking at VO3 right now.
yeah, yeah. DeepMind, I think, is their deep research scientific side, which is nuts. I don't get into that much, but and we've talked about it before. And I was just on a call earlier today that these VCs are doing with 10 people what 100 people
Hmm.
would take a year ago,
I,
and they're
I,
going from $1 to $100 million in 12 months.
Greg, I was just on a phone with or on a call with a startup company before this meeting, and they started in November, and the progress they have made. And he was very honest. He says, "I did in a couple months what it would have taken a couple years."
Yep.
And he's an AI guy, and he was even amazed at what he's able to get done. It was like just incredible. He's got a product and a roadmap and everything.
Yeah.
He says even a software coder uses this to help them. And again, he echoed what we've been saying all along is if you're not doing something, you're outdated in a minute, in a flat minute, right?
And yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting this current wave, because the enterprise has been doing it for 24 months easy.
Mhm.
Anyone who's got $1 billion to invest, the big PwCs, all the big companies have been doing it. It's, it usually takes what, another 5 to 10 years to matriculate down to the SMB.
Mhm.
It's not taking that,
Yeah.
right? So I think I
It.
was talking to someone earlier about, their SMBs are going to be using AI just as easily as they use email. There
Mhm.
was a time when email was only for the big companies.
Right. Yeah. Uh,
So
I remember the old days of the amber screens, and when I got email, it was only the executives had it. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah, it
kind
was
of
all
aging
internal.
myself.
The executives had it, and what was it back then? The new hire got a new computer
Yeah.
and a new printer. So
And he had
nuts.
8 megabytes of RAM or some high
Oh,
powered and 10,
not that
10.
much. You got a mega RAM. Everything went into 640, and that little bit was expanded or extended depending on how you configured it. Blah 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 blah. And it was Lotus 123
Yeah.
or VisiCalc, but Lotus
Yes, it did.
WordPerfect. CC Mail, I think, was one of the packages for email when it came in. Yeah. So it's really interesting if you think about that, right? You had CC Mail, you had an internet connectivity, you had a spreadsheet, a word processor, banner maker, maybe a desktop publishing system, and they were all separate apps, right? And then
Mhm.
Microsoft came along, bought up everyone, and then put it underneath their Windows umbrella. And there was a time when even today, the pull down menus in Word don't look the same as in Excel, or it used to be all like a patchwork.
Yeah.
Um, we're going to see that, only it's not going to fall under a shell. It's what's the latest saying is they're putting AI into their spreadsheets. That's exactly backwards. The spreadsheets are going to be put into AI.
And
So
I would encourage everybody that's listening to this or that joins us today is that sharpen your AI skills even personally, right? Because even hiring people or evaluating people on your ability to use AI to make yourself more efficient, not to replace yourself or do anything, but can you get, 3 times the more work that you would normally do by using a word processor, like a summarization tool or a writing tool or something, or so how do you use AI? You're going to be judged on that as a person. So be smart about it and be able to talk about it like, you don't have to be an AI expert, right? Not that,
there is
but
no such thing.
there isn't. Exactly, exactly. So don't be afraid that you're behind the times, but if you're not doing anything about it, then you do get, as we talked about, you get a shelf life, you get stale really quickly. So
Yeah,
be on the edge, and nobody's perfect about it. Just try it, learn it, you know, and and be able to articulate, kind of how you use AI and how you use it and how do you get benefit from it because the company learns that way too, right? Because they say, oh, Greg was using it in this kind of way. They learn it from it, and then, oh, this is maybe a good way we could use it in our sales process or our marketing process or with our technical knowledge base or wherever it might be. So, really, everybody's got to go in head first. Don't tip your toes in the water.
I agree. And head first, and the biggest thing is that you're benefiting yourself more than the
Yeah,
company you're working for.
that's right. That's
And
right.
that's the silver lining with AI. Everyone's worried about it taking away your jobs, but what it's really doing is unleashing the human talent. It really is, because and more and more people, I've been hearing this in the last few days, is like they get to a certain level, because the big challenge with AI is, what do I do with it? And it only takes a few hours to figure out what you can do with it. Then it takes another 12 hours to figure out you can do anything with it. And then that's tough for people to get. We've never had that kind of scale or scope. We've always,
Hmm.
oh geez, I got to know how to cold call. All right. I got to know how to put together an email. All right. I got to know how to build bond and report. Okay, okay. Whatever. Those are little pieces of fragments of life. When AI just hits, it's like that's all simple stuff. Now, what do you really want to do? And guys were talking about, I can design the guy said today, he goes, I could design a spaceship to get to Mars in, you know, 30 days, the whole program at 100 million, not billions.
Hmm.
And, this is a dude who knows how to do that kind of, no, he doesn't know how to do that kind of stuff. It's the imagination that is really taking hold. It was the CEO of Cisco. So, he's into tech and everything. But it's and I've been that's the hardest part about AI, is that you can do whatever you want with it.
Hmm.
And we're not used to thinking like that.
Hmm.
So what we've seen with the first few generations of AI training, like Art and I've been doing, is like people try to take AI and fit it into 1970s models.
Yeah, just It's all new. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
go for it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's at an individual basis. It's not a
Mhm.
classroom instructional thing. It's a phenomena. It's not an agenda.
Mhm.
Ooh, write that down. That's good.
And that's kind of the theme of our, there's a recording of our webinar that we did on Tuesday about this robotic project over our shoulders here. And that's why, like, I don't want to come in with predefined like outcomes, right? There is certain things that we want to do, certain activities, but I want the creativity of the consortium and the participants to decide, well, not even decide, just maybe give the AI kind of a direction and let the AI tell us what might be
It's
possible.
yeah, yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because with that kind of freedom, it really there are no hierarchies, right?
Hmm.
Because there's no someone's better at this than anyone else. Someone may be more experienced at it, but after 30 minutes, the experience levels are now equal.
Like we could say, I'm just off the top of my head, Greg. So we go like, hey, we want this robot to do more than just repair and resupply the copy machine. What is the most time wasting activity in the office space? Right? I don't know the answer, but it could query all the world's data and
Yep.
say, with some statistics that I found here, 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 and aggregate here, and some unknown insight is saying this is office waste time. If you solve this problem with your robot, then all of a sudden this is a couple $1 billion worth of
Yep.
GDP growth, right? So by solving this problem, and then it's telling you and citing the sources where, this is the study of how people waste time in the office, right? On
Very
Mondays.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at, so that's some of the latest, like last week, I think was OpenAI released a few more levels of their research models. And that'd be you can, it's kind of weird right now. You can throw queries at different levels of LLM-ness, research, heavy research, image research, programming. But if you just do I'm going to call it deep research, but that's, you know, now all of that information you just asked about is out there.
Hmm.
And the LLM with the certain research model that's already been predisposed,
Right.
it knows what patterns to look for, takes your prompt and goes out there and tries to find the matching patterns and brings it back. Art and I have been doing this for the last couple of weeks. The stuff we're getting back now, it's right. Right? That's important. It's factually correct. It's sourced, so you can have the links are all there in a what do they call it, an appendix or bibliography. And then it has insight because it reveals what maybe we didn't think about. That's that's the trick. It's like, oh, and it could, give me 16 different points of how the office technology industry is impacted by AI as an example. And, you might know 12, but then there's going to be three or four that, oh, I didn't think about that. And then that's the gem right there. And it happens all the time with whatever. I mean, I'm asking it questions about everything now. And then if I want to deep into, get deeper in that. Give me, and it'll come back and say, well, we're going to research this for 8 minutes or something like that. Whatever. It's anyway, I think we went off topic, but if we're talking about the consortium with everyone getting together and not the challenges. Well, yeah, the challenges with getting a bunch of people in the same room is you get a bunch of people in one room and there's a bunch of different ideas and I don't care what anyone says, there's a bunch of agendas. We can all have the same basic thing, but the humanality of building hierarchies and moving and making decisions and things like that, if we just look at that circle of humans as the creative process and then let the AI do the hierarchy, whatever that is, decision making, the pluses and minuses, the spreadsheeting and stuff like that, that's where we take off
Right.
because there's nothing off the table once you start engaging at the imagination level.
Hmm.
And that's awesome power. That's like, we want to go to the moon in a year. Okay. Or by the end of the decade or whatever. Right. And sounds like I'm talking science fiction. That's another thing. Not talking science fiction anymore. So with our project with Cricket, that's like I said during the thing, that is the way to tiptoe in to that realm.
Hmm.
It's really identifiable, right,
Yeah.
guys? I mean, it looks like an erector set, so that's
Tip
very
of the
familiar.
tip of the iceberg, right?
Tip, it is.
Yeah. Getting into some type of robotics uh, is the start.
Yeah, for our industry, and I think it's a great idea. I hope people get involved with it. Um, and like you said earlier, it's an opportunity that isn't just for your job or your business or your niche or your whatever. It think about your kids. This is a big, oh man. Um, I'm seeing more and more studies come out where they've exposed. They've had kids in kindergarten start using AI. Of course, they don't know they're using AI, right? And the childish curiosity and the dang thing talks back to it. They're biting down on this hard. They are. It's like a buddy of theirs that it's a friend.
So Greg, this is like this robot that we've got, the it's like the evolution because in my day we were using Lincoln Logs and Legos, right?
Yep.
But those weren't, and then maybe this generation is using a little bit of electronics because the cost came down and there's consumer kits to use. Then this is the next natural progression is that these kids will just grow up with electronics and AI and they're going to be starting in first grade doing these kind of things. So
Right.
yeah, you can imagine the
Right.
imagination of these people that don't have any preconceived notions and haven't been trained in a certain way. They're just going to think totally different,
Yep.
hopefully, right?
Yep.
And the outcomes and the things that they want to do and go and like they're not going to think about, oh, it's so hard to get to the moon or it's so hard to get to Mars, right?
Yeah,
They're
that's
going to
the
be
point.
thinking past that, right? How do we get to Pluto? Like we could realistically get there if we do some kind of thing, right? We
Yeah,
could, I mean, it couldn't even dawn on us 10 years ago to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
that's very true. Yeah.
So I put a prompt into ChatGPT and
What'd you ask it, Art?
how a robot could help reduce office time wasters. Right?
Okay.
Believe it or not, the first one that came up, and it's probably because of us. Load paper, replace toner, clear jams, no more waiting at the copier. Now, this next one was pretty unique. Something I didn't think about, fetch and file documents,
There you go.
right? It said scan an email or even deliver, and here's where Kevin comes in, can deliver coffee on schedule. So the other one was handling mailroom and document logistics, open, sort, and deliver mail. Another one for Kevin, pick up print jobs and distribute to desks or departments. Meeting setup and support, prepare conference rooms, plug in devices, start Zoom, set lighting, take notes, transcribe meetings, or distribute agendas digitally. Um, so I thought that was pretty unique. And then it goes down to consistent office maintenance, clear workspaces, refill supplies, restock break rooms,
Water the
monitor.
plants,
Pardon?
Water
water the
Yeah,
plant.
water the
plants.
Hmm.
plants. Yeah. Maybe get the Roomba out, and maybe they don't need a janitorial service anymore with an office robot.
Well, that's true. I mean, the property management firms are going to have their own robots,
Hmm.
right? I
Well, why
mean,
shouldn't they?
yeah, they should.
Right?
The Japanese have been cleaning bathrooms with robots for 5 years now. It's bathrooms, public bathrooms. But that's interesting, Art. And I think you just described R2D2. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Probably. So some additional ones came up, and I think this is the
Yeah.
coolest of all, especially for office equipment dealers, right? Who actually want to get past managed IT, get past water, um, get past content management, right?
Yeah.
Because we all know at sometime in the future, copiers are going to come to the end. They're going to go the way of the typewriter.
Yep.
And typewriters ended sometime in the late 90s. So smart receptionist duties, greet visitors, notify employees, issue badges, give directions, handle drop-off packages, and pick up autonomously. On-demand training, act as a walk-up help desk. That would be something similar to what Konica Minolta we spoke about with their
Mhm.
Alice, right? Remember us speaking about
Yeah.
Alice a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
Answer FAQs, fix common Here's another one: fix common printer issues or PC problems. Provide live tutorials for software devices. Robots can work overnight, prep print jobs, reorder supplies, clean offices, going back to what we said a few minutes ago, ensure every morning starts off with a ready-to-go environment. And that's just a few. It goes on with about 15 more. And it says robots won't just eliminate time wasting, they'll reshape what the office looks like by handling, we've used this word before, the mundane tasks and freeing humans to focus on strategy, creativity,
Yeah.
connection.
Art
It's going
would
to be creativity and connection. Strategy, your AI can handle the strategy, but it's going to be the creativity. And even that's going to be tough to stay a couple steps above the AI because our creativity is just stuff we haven't seen yet. It's been done. You think about it. I mean, nature's already done everything that we create. So, but creativity is our edge. And I think that's, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be when we open up that side of our brains instead of executive summaries and spreadsheets. It's huge. Also, so Art, that was just one little prompt that you gave, and like, I
So I
mean,
was going to ask Art, did you even mention MFP in there, or you just said what office
No,
tasks?
did not mention
let me
MFPs.
caution you. If that's your
Yeah.
OpenAI chat,
Yes,
knows it, it knows you, Art. So it's
it
going to
knows
try and,
me. Right,
yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
which is
That's weird.
fine. I mean, that's fine, but just realize
right,
I don't want to call it a bias because that's a negative connotation. It knows you. That's all. So
right,
you could, tell it to disregard and now look into different industries and different things like that, and it'll go there. But
right.
right off the top,
I started off with the prompt. What is the most wasted time in the office? So they gave me unnecessary meetings, email overload, poor design processes, distractions, um,
well, those are all right. Yeah.
tech
But
issues, slow equipment, lack of priority
Time
prioritization,
management. Yeah.
time management. And then I said, okay, how could a robot help in all these? And that's when it spit out everything we just reviewed.
That's pretty cool. That's
it's
pretty
all
cool.
it's all these little time suck things that add up overall, right? So it's not like one big thing. Like the copy machine's not down for 4 hours. It's that somebody wasted 20 minutes here and 10 minutes there and 5 minutes extra here. And then total times the number of employees times the number of businesses. And then that waste of resources like just tremendous in a daily basis, right? So
It's all
that's
NPS. This is all management
yeah,
services.
yeah.
Right.
The
So
assessment,
I want to
everything.
take our concept and I want to take our concept and I want to move forward
All
12
right.
months from now, right? We've done our all the training of the brain. We've got our robots in place. Um, Manufacturers and dealers have come on board. They give us their sales training. They've loaded their sales training, not sales training, their tech training manuals into the brains of their robots, right? So we've gotten past, we've gotten past the show in November at Safe Harbor. So what are we looking at for next steps for these dealers that have trained a brain, got their little startup robot, right? What do you think their next steps should be? Since they've trained a brain already. I would tend to think it's start with a larger robot, maybe a bigger brain, and then maybe investigate different types of arms. We're just putting that out there. Would like to hear from everybody else.
What do you think, Kevin?
So I'm definitely not focused on the androids and robots and the different kinds of robotics, hardware's kind of stuff. But I think you're right, Art. That's natural, right? If in a year from now, like you talk about, we have learned the concept of training the brain, so
Yeah,
you understand that by feeding it more data and not just the data too, you have to reinforce this learning because it does hallucinate a lot. Well, not a lot, but it can. right? So you have to tell it it's wrong, and then you have to tell it it's right, and you have to like coddle it. It's like a little, it's like our brain is only like a year old kid, just if you had to have an analogy, right? So you have to train it, reinforce it. So if you learn that concept, then the possibilities are infinite. So but you don't have to solve that problem. Just know that it's flexible enough. The brain itself is transferable to the robotics. The robotics is going to be the hard part, in my opinion, because this is expensive. This is very hard to create. These robots might cost $100,000 for one that's that has dexterity and all these kind of things. I think, and that's not something you can just go manufacture easily. The software program is something that you could control, keep costs down, but the mechanical parts, the robotics, all this kind
Yep.
of stuff is not going to be easy. So that's going to take some effort. If you sincerely want to create a real robot that could do real things like that, it's probably going to, you got to be sincerely invested. And you don't have to like keep training this LLM or the AI because you just know that you could do it, right? That's the important thing, is that you can continually make it smarter over time, and it will learn on its own too. So you don't have to do all the training yourself. Like in the example on the webinar we talked about, the robot, maybe it knows Art, Greg, and Kevin, but doesn't know Sally. And it rolls up to Sally and it says, "Oh, I notice, nice to see you, but I don't know you." And then Sally says, "Oh, I'm Sally." And then the robot would say, "Oh, nice meeting you, Sally. Would you like me to remember in the future?" And she would have to say yes to give her consent to store that data in the robot's brain. But the robot can learn Sally and do facial recognition. So the next time that the robot comes up, "Oh, Sally, how are you doing?" And then learn. So the robot could be self-learning infinitely, just keep learning. So do you have to do that work and feed it data? No, it can learn on its own. And it can learn from the environment and stuff. Um, Greg, you talked about shelf life of LLMs and AI, and these become quickly outdated, right? So it has to learn from behaviors and interacting with people and the environment and all those kind of things. So this thing has much more, it could see, it could hear, it could learn. So it's a long-winded answer of saying, Art, that if we'll teach the foundation, that's good enough for this guy, for this robot. But if you're gonna go into robotics, that's a serious thing, in my opinion. I don't know much about it, but you got to really consider that and how are you gonna do that? Who's your suppliers? Probably not gonna go create one on your own, maybe. Who's going to be your preferred supplier? Just like in the copy business, you have your
Right.
preferred vendors for that. How are you going to service them? The whole same thing that the dealers and the channel has to deal with. But that would be my suggestion, is that the robots can learn on their own. So just learn the foundation, learn how to do the basic programming, and let them learn. But verify all the data that's going in too, like maybe on a daily basis. Oh, I learned who Sally was and Bob was, and is the data right? Still, I mean, there's probably still this confirmation, validation, verification step to gathering the data, because you don't want it to learn on bad data, and you want to validate it that, yeah, I got, Sally's in the right department because she told me she was in, this department or whatever. But validate. So that's my 2 cents in about a 50-cent answer.
What do you think, Greg?
Well, oh boy, it's right in my wheelhouse, actually. So, two things. Don't get so technical because it will pick it up on its own.
Mhm.
We won't have to input anything. It'll get it on its own, especially the personality stuff. But if I were to say in 10 to 12 months, right? Think back when the very first copier came out. All right. You have this thing that can put your original in this thing, and out comes three or four more copies. Right? Because remember back then, what was it? Xerox sold it with a fire extinguisher because it would catch on fire.
Right.
There were all sorts of issues culturally, business wise, that the copier changed, impacted immensely, right? But
Absolutely.
when we look to get it to a channel, and if you said, "Hey, would you like to sell?" If we introduced that concept to people, they're not going to want to build a copier, right? The people who are going to bring it to market aren't going to want to build an Android because it's economically impossible to do what you want, and B, you don't have to. Whereas the OEM like Xerox and the beginning guys, they can't sell it. They can make it, but they don't have the infrastructure to sell it. So that's where the great melding is. I mean, if there's a model to match, that's where it is right at the very, very beginning. So in 10 to 12 months, it would be like I think you said, Carl, Kevin, who's Carl? Kevin, is it's going to be about establishing relationships with quote unquote OEMs. I honestly believe that.
Hmm.
And it's gonna be the wild, 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 wild west. Again, another analogy, it's metaphors back when the PCs came out, leading edge, Toshiba, NEC, Gateway, Dell, HP, Compaq, Hewlett Packard, Packard Bell. There were dozens of these quote unquote manufacturers and then these assemblers. We might even see the same thing with Androids, right? Because remember, back in the olden days, well, my nephew can build us all the computers we need for my business. And he would.
Mhm.
And my nephew can install Novell. Okay. And we'll go buy an Epson printer so you can print your three-part form, whatever it is. It might be a little bit like that, but it's not going to be a decade. It might be 6 months. So 10 to 12 months from now, if this concept, when it is accepted by a dealer, they're going to have to find relationships. And this is where they apply our existing models to those new androids or robots or whatever you want to call them at that point.
Right.
And going to have to try and do it because if it doesn't happen in this channel, they're going to do it elsewhere. It's going to happen,
That's
right?
absolutely correct.
They're going to
Yep.
go there with or without us. So you might as well get on, and it's not going to work with everyone. You're going to have people going to sell Androids direct. They're going to service direct, but there's going to be folks that say, you know what?
Yeah,
I
and
need to get 15 over in Chicago and 20 in New York. Can you guys service those things for me?
and Greg, I would agree with that 100% too. And I would say don't look for the perfect solution. Time to market is so critical.
There's no, yeah,
Right.
that's a really good point, and that goes with
So,
anything right now.
Yeah.
It's like,
so would it be fair to say that the time invested in training the brain will facilitate dealers when they're ready to move on humanoid or an android that may play a functional role for them?
yeah, I think I understand what you're
I mean,
asking.
that's what I'm thinking. You could spend 2 years just training the brain, putting all the tech manuals in, putting all the service tips,
Well, Art, let me stop you right there
firmware.
because, and I think Kevin, it won't take 2 years.
Yeah.
It's going to be like that.
The only reason I mentioned 2 years is because it may take 2 years for that dealership to evolve and
Well,
finally
that
say, you know what? Okay, we're going to invest 100,000 or $250,000 into
they
a
don't have
couple of
2 years.
humanoids
Yeah, I agree. I see
and
what you're saying.
start testing them and making sure they work, making sure we're going to be able to put them in an enterprise and everything else that goes along with that.
Yeah, but go ahead, Kevin.
And just, I'll get a little technical here right now. So the way that we program software in the old days is coding it, right? But now you're talking to it in natural language. So most of the skills that the dealers will want is validating that these robots are doing what they're supposed to do and not supposed to do and not supposed to know. So you're going to need people that have practical experience. They're going to be observing this thing or the data, the output and say, no, this is wrong, this is right. Because again, reinforced learning is the important part of training LLMs. It's not just feed it data one time and then automatically believes it. If three people say it's wrong, even though it's right, then it's going to believe it's wrong. Okay. So that's the skill set is like feed it some data, but then you have to observe it and validate and verify it that it's actually doing the right thing. So this is this. So instead of the time spending on programming a robot and taking the 2 years, it could be accelerated to just a couple months to get it ready, right? And then the time spending is perfecting it and make sure it doesn't like okay, just go completely out of control and doesn't understand a command to stop, right? It could just roll over somebody and hurt somebody. You don't want that to happen, and it could
Right.
happen if it hallucinates, right? If it doesn't get the right kind of commands. So so the skill set's going to be transferred from building up front to building it, taking all this time to build up front and then validate and test it and certify it, right? Instead, you're gonna build it really quick, Then you're going to validate, test it, and certify it more at the back end. So I think the whole shift is going to be more people that less programming people and more validating and real like use case and people that this is a real use case for this.
Oh boy. I
Sorry.
think that the validation process, it'll be self-validated. I mean, the human can validate in a certain narrow focus. And you got to remember, if we connect it once, if an Android in LA is replacing the fuser unit on a Canon, what's a majigger, and it goes wrong, and then it's told how to do it correctly, it ends up into the general intelligence. So the Android in Detroit is going to pick up on that, right? So it only has to happen once. And these things, the intelligence level right now are self-validating. It's kind of
But
weird.
but Greg, there's always exceptions. If for example, the fuser unit, some human puts the wrong barcode on a fuser unit, the robot only knows to go get the right barcode, right?
It
They
may
don't,
not. These robots can recognize if there's a
but
physical difference in that toner cartridge beyond the SKU,
and
beyond the barcode.
and that's what I'm saying. People need to think through this because the robot doesn't have the intelligence. It's going to look for a barcode and then maybe do a picture recognition of it.
It
So
would,
there's
yeah.
two forms. So, but a human needs to tell it. Otherwise, it's just going to go find the barcode. But you have
This
to
is
have
what
the
I'm
barcode.
seeing out there in the world right now, and it is cutting edge, bleeding edge. I mean,
Hmm.
they oh, perfect example, kind of way out there is I think it's gene therapy and gene folding. They are not analyzing DNA by taking a sample of the DNA. They are taking pictures,
Mm,
physical picture, about maybe 3,000 images a second, and letting the AI analyze that. And it's coming out right. So visually,
yeah.
it's at that level. Now, I'm not saying, again, we're going hypothetical. I'm just saying that there's going to be a point very soon where the robot in this, maybe not this, but the BMW plant, right? I think, did we talk about this? They just did a 20-hour shift with robots only assembling BMWs.
I
I
hadn't
didn't
heard
talk
it.
to you guys about that. All right.
I hadn't heard it.
Last week they ran a test day, figure, I think it is, or is it Tesla? One of those robot guys. They did a test 20-hour run in a manufacturing plant in BMW. We're all robots, humanoids, right? So they were pulling parts off of machines that a human would stand there. Now it's an android. Anyway, it's successful, but the android ends up they're learning as they're going. And if there's a unique thing that Android One experiences, they
Oh,
all learn it.
okay.
I mean, good or bad, right?
Yeah.
This is all sci-fi. I mean, so the training, like you're saying, upload all the manuals maybe once somewhere,
Yeah.
right? Maybe, um, you know, have the dang thing can watch all the videos in the world on these things and learn from it. But I'm just saying that again, we get back to what we're talking about, the imagination and the hallucination side will diminish as we go. But I caution you on that. The hallucinations are just a rudimentary form of AI imagination. So that's even more scary if you think about it. All right.
Yeah.
Um, and in 10 to 12 months, holy smokes, the way things are going.
I predict there's going to be production level ready stuff like like you said, come into the dealer room and it will introduce, it can introduce yourself and go get coffee and
Yeah.
then learn the people and have a little conversation. I think that's going to happen, right?
Bring
Within a year.
snacks.
Yeah, yeah.
Watch Disney put androids in all their resorts,
Hmm.
right? I mean, Mickey Mouse is now Mickey Mouse. It's a Mickey Mouse robot.
And that will probably be the aha moment. Greg, you always talk that, this AI thing is really 24 months old, right? Because AI has
Oh
been around a
yeah.
long time.
Well,
What?
none of the
Yeah.
LLM and the
Yeah.
public acceptance is 29 months. I know it's not even a 36-month lease.
So the technology's been there for a while, right?
Yeah.
But it was OpenAI brought it to the consumer. The consumer went on there and started using
The
ChatGPT, right?
Yep.
Transformer came out. OpenAI put it out. OpenAI didn't expect it to go as big as it did. It did. And
So
the rest is history.
so even though it was there, it wasn't exploding like it was. So all it took was just to expose this to the consumer, and
Yep.
that's what happened, right? So probably the same thing's going to happen. It like people are thinking about like when we on our webinar, there was a lot of
Right.
people interested,
Right.
a lot of people considering projects, you know, but there's going to be this aha moment. And the aha moment might be this little robot that's running around and doing stuff, right?
Oh, I agree.
But it could be so much more, and it's up to your imagination to get the right kind of Android and dexterity and all this stuff and let it learn and stuff. But it's a
Yep.
platform, right? And that's going to be the aha moment. Oh, wow, it did this. Can it do this? And the answer is always going to be yes. It's just a matter of time and money and how much you want to invest in it and how much data it can gather, right? Whether you're feeding the data or it's getting data on its own, but the possibilities are infinite. So there's going to be that moment where, like, okay, I get it now, right? Let's do it
Yes. Yeah.
100%. We've got, I could think of 20 different use cases that we're going to go monetize. How quickly can we build it? So just build this quick LLM for this use case and then let that thing learn on its own. And
Well, yeah,
Mhm.
and I think we're talking maybe two different things, right? Because there's the androids that can help internally with the dealers on the service side and things like that. And where I'm coming from, I guess maybe a little bit more is the dealers reselling
Mhm.
androids
Yes.
to property managers and maybe not B2B applications. Ultimately, it will be B2C. I don't know if we want to get involved with that, but B2B is huge, huge.
Yep.
If for that one freaking dealer that somehow we find the magic pill, it'll only take one. It will only take one. And instead of showing my water and my giant screens and my EV chargers or the 3D printers, he's got shows a tech dragging a crate out to a high rise in New York, opening it up, and up comes this robot. He does his little whiz bang stuff, and off it goes. That's all it's going to take. One guy to do it. And so I think that to me is huge and big. And like I said before, I think our channel is matched perfectly for that scenario. But and the other things are cool too. Not other things, but I could see. Oh, what was I thinking the other day? A service technician robot had something to do with the vans come in at the end. Oh, it was auto service. It was van service. So all the vans come in at the end of the night, park in a certain area. The androids go find out what the trunk stock is for each van, and
Mm.
then restock it. And so whenever the techs come in the morning, bada boom, bada bing, it's ready to go. Right? No, because trunk stock inventory control is a nightmare because the techs they don't.
Okay. They're not keeping inventory. Are you kidding me? No way.
Service now is just replace the part until it works.
Yeah,
Right.
So
no. Yeah, again, that's a time-consuming thing, and it's very
there's so much
meticulous.
money there. It's time consuming.
Yeah,
Your tech doesn't want to. He's coming in on Saturdays to, what do they
yeah.
call it? They justify his trunk stock,
Hmm.
and it says you should have $3,000 worth of trunk stock. You have 1,500.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
So
yeah,
I could
yeah.
see that being a big issue. And then even down to servicing the actual vans, right? You pull them in. There's a service robot of some sort that handles everything, oil changes, all that stuff, and you're good to go. I like that idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all kinds of use cases. It's just a matter of knowing your customer and then like, yeah, you can't see the forest through the trees, so they're closest to the customer. They've got the use cases. They might have they are the use case themselves. We all do it like every day. Like before we had Alexas all over my house, my wife was making a shopping list and she was doing that. Now she's just talking to not a robot, but a voice control system that
Mm-hmm.
now manages the inventory in the refrigerator. Just like you said, the refrigerator has all the sensors and it's automatically sending the order to Amazon Food to deliver to the refrigerator, right? So that all
Yeah.
that's automated, right? And
I-
it's not a moving thing, but it's sensors and
Mm-hmm.
centralized control and communications. So it's all related.
Yeah. I can't tell you how much stuff we throw out every
Yeah.
couple months from the fridge because it's either buried in the back, or my wife is very anal about what is it, the dates when it's supposed to be go bad, right?
Right.
Oh no, you can't eat it a day after the
Expiration date.
expiration
Yeah.
date. Thank
Yeah.
you. And I'm lugging this big jar, big garbage bag of stuff out to the trash, and I'm saying, what a waste of freaking money,
You
right?
can always cook the bad out of anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been playing with AI, right?
Yeah.
And well, you guys been talking, and I put in who would be the first office equipment dealer to offer robotics for office supplies and repairs, right? So I'm going to go to the last one first, right? We spoke about Henry Ford. Of course, this is my personal, right?
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And it said, what would Henry Ford do? Henry Ford wouldn't wait. He'd see that offices are ready for robotics. Dealers already have service arms, leasing models, and customer trust. Key. The first one in the door wins the relationship, possible for the next decade.
Yep. I like that, Art.
Right? Then it goes on to mention dealers like Marco, Milner, Novatech, that Stratic Systems that offers managed IT, dealers that are selling paper-cut, Kofax, or DocuWare. But we didn't think about this. Dealer groups, right?
CDA.
BTA, SDG, that one B, I think there's one BCP or something,
Yeah, they just had one.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just said what might be offered mobile robots that deliver. We spoke about this. Deliver toner, collect prints, escort visitors, copiers side by side bots that replace toner, load paper. Interesting, right?
Yeah. That is interesting. Here's another thing just to put in your so right now, all the VC backed consolidations. Right. I think we talked about it earlier or maybe a few weeks back that we're getting to the 5 to 7 year period of these VCs.
Yeah.
Um, it is viable to resell or get rid of or not liquidate whenever and I read this 40 or 37% of the revenue is managed services generated. That means the VC views that as a successful investment and then would start either buying it back or selling it off at a higher price. And typically, no matter what our dealers are telling everyone, the VCs are reporting this more along the lines of 22 to 25% of the revenue right now, and these dealers are managed services related. Okay. So one of the goals with the VCs is to diversify, which has always been a goal. But maybe it is. I don't. It would look good to say, hey, we're going to invest if you guys go for this Android robotic line, right? I personally think it's too late. It's 5 to 7 years. And a lot of them are 7 years, and they're only at 22. So in the next couple 24 months, we might see some real turnover because at one point they cut their losses and start slicing and dicing. So, but I think they would be a good prospect for looking into, hey, we should maybe make a relationship with this manufacturer and maybe look at expanding and diversifying our lines into this. So,
Well, again, I mean, going back to the OpenAI bet $6.45 billion on a device manufacturer, right? So, and that was all stock, but it's evidence that somebody with a lot of money sees hardware as the future, well, part of
yeah,
the solution, right?
no, it's absolute. Yeah, yeah, but have to redefine our definition of hardware. It's not a QWERTY, it's not a screen. What
So,
the hell is it?
so Sam Altman was pretty vague. What I read, right? He says it's not glasses.
Yeah,
It's not a phone. It's something. I don't know. I didn't read any more about it, but he was kind of elusive about it. I don't know. Stay tuned, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that it gave me, it's the end of the QWERTY. Our interface right now with all our computers is the keyboard.
But frankly, with natural language, I mean, you don't need
Yep.
interfaces, right? So you're talking to everything. So maybe there's not even I don't know, right? It's-
I don't know. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, it was just a move. It was just a move. I mean, it was an expensive. But did you say it was just stock?
That was all stock, yeah.
All right.
Well, OpenAI is still losing a lot of money, um, but it wasn't a cash purchase, I don't think.
I don't think it was either. That's interesting. All right. Wow. What are you postulating over there, Art? I see you thinking.
Yeah, I'm doing just a little bit of research and
He's feeding OpenAI all these ideas, and look, they're coming out with all.
Oh, don't worry. I'll grab the transcript. It'll be in.
it actually came out with the Temi robot,
Oh
TEMI,
yeah, isn't that the little one? I don't.
mobile AI powered personal assistant designed to enhance office and home environments. Temi robots as a service, AI in motion.
It's interesting you mentioned
So
that.
basically, they're like nothing more than a monitor in a mobile platform.
Oh, oh,
Right. So it'll
So
be
right.
it's,
able to,
so it's just a mobile device that moves around and
Like the hospitals tried to do a
I'll
long time
share it.
ago. The doctor would face to face on FaceTime when a thing was.
I remember when Sheldon Cooper on The Big Bang Theory, he created a
Yep.
robot. Yeah.
Yep. That's what I was just gonna
That's what it was, wasn't
relate
it?
to. There you go. Can you see it?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah. Timmy.
Timmy. Okay,
Hey,
Timmy.
speaking of which, did you ever see this was like a year ago. I saw this video of this Chinese company. They had a lot of little robots. And one in the middle of the night, somebody hacked it and had this one robot go talk to the other robots, and then like they encouraged these other robots to follow it out of the building or something. But it was just a point of like how one thing can influence the other ones.
Oh yeah.
It was a very funny like viral video about a year ago.
There was another one about Korea, South Korea. A robot
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
jumped
Yeah.
off of a
Oh.
staircase,
Oh. Whoops. Good.
and it was like, oh, the robot committed suicide.
So what
Couldn't
is
handle
it?
the pressure.
So this is like a personal robot,
It can
or
be
that's just
business or it can be personal.
okay.
It's an
Interesting.
iPad on wheels.
Basically, yeah.
That won't fly.
No, but they could
That won't
actually
fly.
be a great starting point.
What what's something with you all the time? Like, glasses are an accessory, earrings,
Phone,
jewelry, phones always,
watch.
but what's something you're always wearing clothes, right? So that's always with you.
Well, not always.
True. Yeah, maybe it's
Implants.
implant. Yeah, your what do you call it? The things you put in your eye or
Contact
something
lenses.
contact lens. But that's accessory. I don't know whatever they're coming up with
An
Well,
is
implant. Right
okay.
now, it's going to be it'll be an
so
implant.
so what are you thinking about? Something that is always with you no matter what? You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah, something you don't have to think of. It's always with you. It's always on you, and you're
my
always
dog,
oh,
Only for like
robotic
7 or
dog.
15 years.
Wherever I go, the dog goes. Dog jumps in the car, dog gets out of the car, dog goes for a walk.
Have you
Dog
seen
should
the new
probably be
robot
allowed in the
dogs?
supermarket, right?
Yep, the robot dogs.
Right.
Just as nice. Well, okay. So implants have been around for a long time, and then you've got Musk working on that thingamajigger that connects to the brain.
oh,
He's actually got that on
Neuralink.
Neuralink. Yeah, that'll be something. It will be. There won't be a QWERTY. It won't be. I don't know what it is. And then ultimately, this is crazy because we talked about the whatever the folding DNA folding or whatever it's called. It'll be in the DNA, so you'll be born with it.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Maybe.
Interesting. And they'll go back and look at our videos from 200 years ago and say, this is where it all started.
This is where it started. Well, here's the scary thing. This isn't new to us. I didn't just come up with the idea. It's out there.
Right.
It's out that CRISPR thing that, there's artificial ways to manipulate down to the molecule. There's all sorts of goofy stuff going on. So when you hear people say that we can cure all disease, it sounds out there, right? It isn't.
hmm Yeah.
It
No,
isn't.
I read, I think it was 10 or 15 years ago, I read that our generation or my generation will be the last generation that will die of disease.
Oh God, we hope. Yeah, that's
Were
great.
to be the generation before me.
Right. So with that, we have reached almost 5 p.m.,
You're
which is
kidding me. Wow.
basically our witching hour. We've had a fantastic talk with Kevin and Greg and gone over our Cricket LLM project. If you'd like to know more, reach out to Kevin, reach out to me, reach out to Greg to learn a little bit more. But for the dealers that are watching this, I asked them, what what are your plans when print is going to end? Or what are your plans when all of a sudden the print volume, what you're used to, goes down to 50%? What's going to be your legacy if you have your kids in a business and you want to give them a future? What are you going to look to? Are you going to look to screens, managed IT, or do you really want to get into a great business with that's going to have planned obsolescence, just like the copiers, and you want to stay in that break and fix mentality? Um, we believe, Greg and I, probably Kevin also, are futurists, and we're thinking about everything that's in place that 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 what we can do to help our businesses not only 10 years down the road, but the next 20 to 30 years.
Mhm. Yeah. Legacy.
Yep. So with that, we're going to close our show. We thank you very much for tuning in. Please like, follow, and share. And we'll be back next Friday at 4 p.m. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.